So the first order of business was to get the robot back. It disappeared. So I did that by, for some reason the models are getting deleted. And so I have to go in and change the object file path. I actually have to add a new component. Like the entire component looks like it gets deleted. It's probably the TUI that I'm using, the text user interface. Okay, so today what we are going to do is a few things. So we want to treat this robot as an agent. And as such, the robot deserves its own sort of anchored kitty term, which acts as its user interface. So this robot will have its own neo-fetch. Make dear agents. In agents, and then we build make dear agents. CD agents, and then we build make dear agents and ls. And vim. An index or something. This is going to be Scribbler Robot. Okay, we need to look at the index, which is the ID of the agent entity in the database of HackMatrix. Solarity. It's time to meditate. That's what the alarm says. Take a deep breath. And breathe. It is goal time. When the alarm goes off, it is goal time. So what does that mean? Goals. So there is an April 15th goal. For me personally. So I write it on one line and then I repeat it. And then I write some thoughts, sometimes. And every time an alarm goes off, it gets one of these. I've only written this twice in a text file using Vim. Usually it's done with a notebook. But I've started streaming it. So there's actually a sub-goal, which I might write. So the first goal is I make $1,000 by April 15th, 2026 from HackMatrix. I usually copy the formatting from the top to the bottom. This one has a non-camel case, or I don't know what Pascal case, I suppose. I don't names. This makes it uniform. And that's consistent with the repository as well. However, in my notebook, I just leave all errors. Usually there aren't any copying errors though. So. Okay, and there is a sub-goal. I'm writing this off the top of my head, but this is the stream goal. So if we go up to the top, and we could take a look at the stream, there it is. It's going to take some time to load. I'm not super concerned, as long as I didn't kill the stream, which I believe is over there. We're still sending out frames. What was the name of this robot? Scribbler robot. Indexed in agents. That is indexed in agents, because that is a specifier. I get the Scribbler robot. It's called an entity that is indexed in agents. Driving around HackMatrix as an agent with a persistent bootable kitty term floating above it at all times, with a persistent bootable kitty term floating above it at all times. The terminal acting as a user interface into the agent. Okay, so the idea is this robot has a terminal. First off, it's an agent. So it has all the systems that's required to make it scriptable, drivable, has a typical robot interface, so you can take the intelligence code that you write and port it directly to your robot. I'm actually going to 3D print a robot and get designs out for a robot that looks similar to this. This is obviously just a block design, but I do have another robot that I have designed around this that I'm going to import. So that might be one aspect of this project I can do as a sort of, in Kickstarter they say like bonus tier, or they go into like a bonus phase. If I have time, I will convert this to this model specifically to the real engineered model that I have actually built in physical space with motors and such. I'll import that into HackMatrix and then maybe get started on it's called the Simple Man robot, and get started on manufacturing that simple robot, probably give it a rename. Okay, so something I just thought about is I actually want to make this I think it should be a stack. So this is a stack. Newest at top. There we go. We can go ahead and put the secondary leaf here. Just write the code right there. Okay. Cool. So the goal has. Some people call this like revising a goal. It's a very material goal. When I first read the book that sort of taught me goal setting, Think and Grow Rich, it was aimed towards money, so I went with that. It felt a little strange because up until that point in my life, I had focused on actually just like no money. Like I just didn't care. Like I didn't need it. The money I needed had always come from parents, so I was just like, And I lived inexpensively. But around the time I became an adult, I was like, man, this sucks, and I don't want to get a job. And I was like, this book says Think and Grow Rich. I'd like to think that's the reason I don't get a job, because I can run track and study computer science, basically. And I think it's done well for me. But it did take me a long time to figure out how to goal set. I'm still not great at it. And usually something different happens besides the goal that gets created. But the goal sort of is like aligned with what happens. It's kind of a weird thing. So these are the two goals to keep in my mind as I sit here and work. I consider this to be this stream, the distro, all of that, to be mostly art. I think art for me is the best category to place the efforts and the actions, especially on this channel and what I write down and such, and HackMatrix. I do have to wonder what would have happened if I took it's basically a mind virus that exists in this book that I read. Cal say F-Tux, Think and Grow Rich is the book. Fucking mind virus. Just kidding. But it basically just like hypnotized me into focusing on like monetary goal setting. Oh my gosh. Which then taught me like the secrets of meditation. What a trip. But I do wonder what would have happened if I would have not followed the monetary path of this book, which is pretty difficult to avoid given the nature of all the... he defines rich very, in the title, you know, he defines it very concretely. I remember a distinct moment of reading the book. I'm like, man, I want to do this system. But the monetary rich thing is just like not sitting well with me. It's just kind of like freaking me out. And then I was like, whatever, I'll just do the system. And then like, bro, it completely just rewired my brain. It like cast like a mimetic viral like mental spell. And I was like, I'm going to make X money with robotics. The first one was so ambitious, the first goal I wrote. And you're only supposed to write one goal. You write one down and then you just proceed to the so, there's a date on it. There's a date that you set to it. So I fucking set one like 5 years into the future or something. Which is actually the right way to do it. And these short-term goals that I'm doing, they're experiments. I think this one has a time. It has a lifetime of like 15, probably 15 days. It's also an extension. Like I've changed it a few times. I think the first time I wanted to reproductize HackMatrix after I quit my job was like 4 or 5 months ago, let's say. It was like November. So you can say that this is like an extension goal, like a 5-month goal. But I've rewritten these like multiple times and changed them. Bro, but the first time I did this spell book, this book really is a spell. Maybe I should get an affiliate link. They have to like verify your account. And I'm not saying this because like, I mean, it is kind of hilarious that I'm like talking about this book and like I'm going to try to sell it to you, but it really, one of the things it talks about is like creating money consciousness. And I'm like, bro, it's a spell. It like, it's a mind virus that makes you just like want to think about money all the time. Let's think and grow rich, dude. And like, it's a crazy book. I should show my finance curves, because in a way it did work. Like I own a house now, like like no mortgage on a house. I think like I'm the first one in my family, like even my parents. And bro, I dropped out of college to do this. I swear. I read the book when I was in college. I was already on the fence about college, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna think and grow rich, guys. And it worked. It was really painful though. I think the time limit was like a 6-month psyop, or a 6-year psyop. So I didn't follow through with it. Like you're supposed to write your goal every day. And I probably only wrote it like 10%, but 10% out of like 5 years is like a lot of attention. It's a lot of days. It was crazy. I think it was like a target of, maybe I changed it like once. It was like a target of like 6 million or something, like 1 million, 6 million, something like that. From basically just like, let's say an Apple One level. If you guys are familiar with Apple One, I was really into Apple and Steve Jobs. I had read Steve Jobs' biography around this time. So I was like, these things made like decent bank, and look at that. I mean, it looks professional, I have to say. But it's also like you can tell that was like hand engraved or carved or something. And you can tell it's a, let's say a woodworker proud case, Like me after like a year of woodworking or something. I don't know how long it takes to make something like that. It's a pretty good, like just from the lumber and wood, the woodworkmanship, it looks decent. Like if I were to produce a case like that out of wood, I would be supremely happy with myself, actually. At least where I'm at in woodworking, which is like 4 months of minimal. Anyways, yeah, so this book psyoped me. So I focused on basically becoming a millionaire through humanoid robotics for like, I think, like I said, like 5 years, 6 years, and I focused on like different aspects of it. But part of that was me just like, oh my god, I'm sick of robots, dude. I made like 10 to like, I think I'd stopped counting at like 10, but I just made all of these robot prototypes. I was like, okay, I'll make an eye, I'll make a head, try to make a hand, you know, just trying to like R&D all of the components. Oh, gosh. All of this to say that we are doing a meditation real quick called a goal meditation. So do as I did and write down a goal and meditate on it for 5 minutes. As the dots on your screen continue to grow and flip over to a new line, the seconds and minutes will be counted. After 5 lines, our meditation will be finished. Bow with a namaste at your heart. I'll ding the bell. rang that bell very unceremoniously. Let's redo that. It's a singing bell, so you can take the mallet around the edge and keep the resonance. Need a camera, so I can arrange like a webcam for these like slower meditation, discussion, monologue type scenes of the stream, so that way you can see so I'm putting together a HackMatrix studio that sort of blends HackMatrix 3D space ideas into a physical space that I could use for streams and have a camera directed at, so I can talk about books and show books that I'm reading. Show my design board. Show off various physical creations like woodworking, which is the platform I have for my bench, and that holds up my tatami mat design board, is something I built with wood, with cedar planks that were sort of rejects and rough hewn, that were free from the lumber yard. I'm learning woodworking from that. It's a significant amount of wood. So I have this platform. As I said, my mouse pad and, let's say, keyboard pad. It's a combo. I pick it up and can put it on my lap. It's leaking sap from pine trees or cedar trees. I wonder if pine sap or cedar sap is I'm not even sure how to compare saps. Less sticky or whatever. Smells better. I believe these trees here are pine, but maybe we could go with cedar. They're a bit too undefined at the moment. Also, this voxel world is completely static. The robot will be one of the first dynamic things in this world, besides windows and terminals. This will be a dynamic. I was like, where did the robot go? I'm logged into its terminal. Hello, robot terminal. Okay, so like I said, we are trying to get this robot to drive around in its environment here. I would like the picture of the trees, the robot, and its terminal. So, as if I were like taking my phone and like dropping it all the way to the ground for like a raccoon picture or something. I think that's a good photo right there. So I will save that. Okay, so I guess we can highlight a few problems. So this is the current state, and you can say, okay, so what is the current state? Okay, so if I were to escape, by that I mean close down the HackMatrix, these windows, all of them, would disappear. The stream would stop, obviously. Which, by the way, I have not even checked in on chat. Or to see if the stream even boned. Hello. Okay. So I think it would be cool if this flag was always oriented towards the robot's direction. So it's like a sail for the robot. To just maybe make it semi-transparent, but we always know that it's its little control console. Maybe these things could even have like game worlds that you jump into. It's like simulated environments. That is a great idea. That's actually a hilarious idea. So let's go to the agent. Whoops, CD. I think it's agents. Okay, we're in the index. Okay, I think I'm going to rename it to Scribbler, and it will be, let's just say 0 Scribbler. Then 0 Scribbler. Yeah, I'm sort of tempted to actually just maybe have a folder module system for now. The index sort of makes a decoupled data structure. Not sure if I want that. Index is like a pointer, I guess. It's actually interesting that you can think of files sort of as a pointer and memory system, or what do you call that? By value or by pointer and memory. It depends on what language. Okay, so we have the Scribbler. So I guess something that we need to do is keep track of the various ideas or features or things that I think of while I am streaming this and working on this. So, and what I've already discussed. So priorities, maybe, actions. An agent with actions. I guess let's pretend that the human's code intent as they write the actions is synonymous with the actions of the bot itself. So I can just name features that I wish to that I wish to do for the robot, for standing in for the robot's actual actions, which is kind of a strange. So the first is that it has boots, terminal, kitty terminal, boots terminal, oriented relative to Okay, so this is a scroller. Boots terminal. Rotated to be parallel with the wheels. So that's sort of what this is. You want it just sitting, you just want it to be a wheel. I don't need to specify, like this still, if I were to feed this to GPT and ask it to like make a fully bounded object, it couldn't exactly do that because parallel to the wheels means it could be basically anywhere here and anywhere here. So it needs a translation. So let's just say translated and relatively fixed in position above the dot. Okay, so that's important. We need a user interface for this. API that moves the bot. API that moves the bot. Okay. And the terminal. So in a way, in a sense, there's a concept of like mind, body, and soul. So think of mind, body, and soul. Maybe I need to write the diagram, and maybe I need to write this somewhere. Because this is kind of an overarching metaphysical principle. I'm sort of just thinking out loud here, but the body would be the robot, the mind would be, the code, the way to interface with the robot through a terminal. Like it's CLI basically, or it's API. So like this constitutes its mind body, and then the soul would be like the all of the classes or these super classes that this thing derives from. So it's a robot. It's all of the things, the Platonic ideals that sort of evolve almost independently of it, but that when those improve or consciousness of them improve, the bot itself improves. If you understand what, like you could have, let's say that you owned a company and you divided your regimen or your company between hardware, software, and meta software. Where meta software, the software guys are only allowed to touch the like lower level classes in the class hierarchy. Pretend they're like Java heads and they love their Java classes. And so they hire like the architects to touch the like really high level interfaces, basically, like the API level stuff. And then they can focus on just fixing the high level stuff, and then all of the mind, body, soul complexes that derive from that high level idea that companies would pay a lot of money for architects. Trickle down all the way to the implementation, like the physical implementation and the mind implementation, let's say the instantiations of the objects. And so actually the positioning of the robot here and the window here, and it makes an arc sort of into fountain here is particularly interesting sort of arrangement, because if I zoom out and then look down, and the guy blends in with the purple, that sort of arc, let's move it over here, from the robot, the body, mind, and soul, mind, body, soul. The purple here, I drew this because it represents it's usually looked at from this direction. So it'd be like this and like this. So this is the crown chakra that I could best draw with into a fountain, basically. So body, mind, and soul, with the crown chakra representing the soul, which represents all the emanations of hierarchy and architecture and all the improvements to the system that made it able to do what it does. So HackMatrix, for instance, like, what is HackMatrix? Well, it's obviously a user environment that I use to stream. It started off as like a business idea and a game. But it also is simply a laptop. Sometimes I call my laptop HackMatrix. And that's because HackMatrix has to run on a laptop, and there can be many instantiations of a HackMatrix, but mine runs on a laptop, and it has particular quirks. I have to use a mouse, and like a physical mouse, because my touchpad doesn't work. And so, in some sense, the stuff that is outside of what you would normally call HackMatrix, the thing that you would normally interface with and identify as such, the software, and like hardware is a bit different for like a pure software product, but the software, let's call this the deliverable, the instantiation, the deliverable. This analogy might break down a bit. Which, let's say like a USB card or a cartridge. So I send the cartridge to you, and you have a machine that you run it on. In that case, the machine and all the architecture optimizations and everything, its soul, everything that makes up the machine and the entire system that you're running on, even your power grid, if it cuts out sometimes, that is contained in the purple. So maybe I shouldn't delve too deeply into the company that just went out of business, into the metaphysical components of HackMatrix, but it's actually part of the reason why I'm making this, to discuss these things. So. Okay, don't know how it crashed, and the robot is gone. What a mystery. I think you guys can still see it though. A metaphysical misexplanation. The robot is gone for some reason. I don't know why, but this is a repeat actually. So I have already brought the robot back from the dead. Its model got deleted. Its model keeps getting deleted. Although if I add a model and it crashes, it doesn't add it back. So that explains the repeat. So I expect it to not have the model component if there's a crash. Which means I could tell, the HackMatrix to exit and stop the stream, start it again without a crash. But I'd rather just wait until the stream is finished and then do that reboot. So. Although it will get annoying if the robot keeps disappearing. Let's just not have another crash, I suppose, is my attitude right now. Okay, let's see the scripts. It's a little smaller. Okay, so the robot, we need the robot 1 is what we're looking for. There it is. So the entity 21 directly above it is the robot 0, but it is missing its model component, as you can see on the right hand. You see the one thing that changes is the model component is not present. So I press M to create a model component, and you can see it puts me into the edit mode on the right hand side here, and I'm actually pressing right. I can just press down. I go down to the model. It doesn't highlight anything because there's nothing to highlight. That's a style issue. And I open Vox. This is relative to HackMatrix itself. Robot 0.obj. And so the robot should now exist, and it does down here. Okay. So the first thing to do is either we can add a button to the entity TUI to save that. We can keep the autosave on safe exit and just hope that HackMatrix doesn't crash, or we can I can't think of the last one. I know there is another one that exists, another option I didn't mention. Kind of want to go with the save button option, because this is a problem that's going to persist in time with all the various components. Let's see. Oh well, I suppose I'll just hope it doesn't crash. I think that's probably the best. Or that's the final one. Get it to save on crash. That's the easiest one, but I don't want to really edit the source code. If it crashes again, I'll consider getting it to save on crash. Because this has happened with this robot. It has happened with the map. I think it happened with the temple, maybe. There was a point where all the colors got messed up. Speaking of the colors, let's make this a little more blue over here. I think that will surely capture the identity and essence of the robot, or the agent that we're coding. I guess I'll go ahead and manually spawn a kitty term. It's going to be a while before we get a bootable in here that will automatically spawn its term and position it and everything. So for now, we'll keep that there. And I'll just go ahead and put this in the agent scribbler, which is its folder. So when I enter into a folder, I just want to run the scribbler main. So vim scribbler. Let's just do a basic Unix abstraction. We don't care what the executable environment is. And let's use Python. It has rich, but let's just print. Scribbler v0 0.1. Okay. chmod plus scribbler. Okay, cool. So I can do things like put logins. I can have it run. This can be its init script. So when it, when HackMatrix boots or the agent comes into existence, it can run this script. It can tell me all the information I need. Actually, this is a good thing for Codex. Hello, you are very good at creative green field scripting. This is because you are nimble, have a very broad angled mental dimension. And you can also brute force garbage. Good tries. Silence. Glaze and then not tell them what to do. I can work that way. That's what it says. There is Scribbler, which is the init script for the Scribbler robot agent in HackMatrix 3D Linux distro by Colin Alex Bell. The Scribbler robot is a virtual robot that also has a physical robot. The virtual robot can have behaviors that are purely virtual and greater than the physical counterpart. In fact, we don't care about the physical counterpart right now. This is because while the physical has existed in my possession in the past, and there is a designed version that has been printed but not perfected or ran with any significant control software, using the physical to base the virtual, or even using physical constraints that are monetary and not purely physical. Or maybe even eschewing purely physics entirely and relying on some mathematical axioms. In essence, the virtual agent robot needs to fit its current environment, or any environment it finds itself in for the purpose of that environment. expand the Scribbler init file with this in mind. Assume any virtual robot API you wish to assume, but please invent it yourself and keep it simple. Guys, I'm doing this because it's fun. This entire speaking this way and all of this extreme context, which I just copied and I'm going to paste, and it's maybe I'll keep a prompt comment. This will just be a comment in the code. It's for the bit. It's for the drama of it. It's for the raps and the no caps or the snow caps. In my brain, like the wood saps dripping down in my head and my mind. I can't think. What's the time? I don't know. The fear seeps into the bones. I can feel it ping my legs, and then I grow in wisdom. I feel divine. God says it's time to work on the Kuberlogos agent Scribbler Codex GPT 5.4 default, which deleted the Scribbler script. Bro. Okay, there we go. Almost left us hanging there. What if the internet cut out? Guys, I went to the store today and there was the cashier was singing, and I was like, okay, I heard her singing, and I asked, what type of music do you like? And she was like, everything, just not rap. And I'm like, oh, I rap. I didn't say I like rap. I was like, I rap, because I was just thinking back to last night on stream when I was just like rapping at like 3 a.m. I think I was trying to keep it pretty quiet, but all right, let's see what this, because it probably doesn't understand the vibe I'm going for. So right now I want maybe a personality for it, or just a nice text-based, charming, and I want a personality for it. A nice text-based, charming UI that sort of feels like a DMT trip into the agent's mind space with glimpses into its soul space and interior architecture, simply by the design elements in the UI itself. All things are coherent. You could just psyop these things. Just give them the most outlandish prompts. Oh my gosh. That's so funny. I was listening to music and the music died. So I forgot why. Goodbye, code. Oh, let's take a look at stream. Let's take a look at stream chat. Let's put it here. I can just back up and... Torpy says, hi, hey, I think I found this. Hold on. We gotta get with the aesthetic here. Actually, I want to pop the chat out. There we go. We're in the trees. What's a good metaphor? We're in the forest. I can't take the trees for the. All right, you're a tree now. I think I found. There we go. That's the aesthetic we want. It actually is a decent aesthetic. It's just kind of weird. Guys, the alarm means it's that time of day again. I do this frequently. It's a goal setting time. That's probably why I paused the music, actually. But I'll read the comments right now. I think I found this on X Twitter when someone posted it on some thread and it blew me away. Excellent. I'm the creator. Hello. I posted it. But others might have posted it as well. So, is this a DE or distro? So it's a DE. Well, hold on. I wish I could do this quicker. I'm giving myself commentary here. That depends on. I need the meme. What do you mean by you? I think is what he said. What do you mean by do? What do you mean by what? Oh my god. Bro. I don't want to see that. Okay, sorry. So to answer your question, it depends on what do you mean by do? No. What do you mean by this? That's what I was getting at. What do you mean by this? So if you were to you can download the DE, but it's not going to contain what you see here. By that I mean like the assets. Some of the changes that I have, I think the DE will probably be a release downstream, which is DE is open source, at least like the current fork is. But what you can sense is that there's going to be some sort of divergence. So that's the answer. But I'm making a distro. That's the next release. And so all the models and such will be a distro. Will be included in a distro. And the scripts and the agents and all that probably in a distro. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the future holds. Use the floor as a mouse pad. Oh geez, LinkedIn. I have changed my profession too. I'm a professional streamer and hacker, guys. That's me. I changed it to interior designer and then alerted my network and then posted pictures of my room. Life is a comedy. Oh, this is the thumbnail. based. I don't think it may need a better screenshot, because I don't think I'm going to keep the thing flagged like this. I consider this flagged because it's not symmetric with the robot. But it would be cool if it like could move it as like part of its personality, so it could like halfway move it and then move it all the way, and then by that I mean like just rotate its direction facing you. Bro, imagine if your terminal as you're typing it like starts like shaking, like in 2D space or 3D space, it starts doing this. And it does it like in response to like things that you did wrong. Like you get an STD error. I say STD error, standard error, and it like does this. Oh wow, dropped all the way to 0. That's crazy. Was that the music? It's just like, no.
Where's the mouse pad?
When you don't want to feel pain, but you do. At the drop-off of the views you see. Your Linux city on the map. Maybe I should make the bridge fancy that. Bro. Guys. I asked it to get fancy and it gave it... What even is this, dude? Oh my god. Bro, I have no idea what it was thinking. When you psyop it, it just gives you this. Let's see if it even runs. Bro. Oh, yes, this is awesome. Oh. Bro, you can just tell it to be Terry Davis and then give you full Schizo user interface. Codex. Pretend you are Terry Davis. No mistakes. Display linked, like it just obviously hallucinate. What does that even mean? Display linked. Operator, local proximity. What does that even mean? I wonder if that actually has like a distinction. Like if I were to ask whatever context spit this thing out, define display linked and its opposite. If you could do that. Oh, it has a name. Look at that. It named it for us. Archetype. Threshold Naturalist. Sounds like a witness returning from the bright interior weather. Bro, this is like, what is this? This is like Dwarf Fortress's like terrible AI generation of... It's not terrible actually, it's coherent and repetitive, but it's terrible in the way it combines things. Look at me trying to glaze Dwarf Fortress. We're getting defensive. Gentle but alert mood. To make utility feel enchanted but still exact. That's a good longing. Hello, good persona. Work with that. I treat code as habitat rather than cargo. Okay. And maybe I told this. I think I still have the prompt. Oh, I forgot the other one though. Bro, I glazed it so hard. Bro, we should... Bro, I keep saying bro. We should keep prompts, like the history of our prompts, and store them in glaze. Like... Gosh. Alright, let's see if the codex... Yeah, it does. I think there's another way to retrieve the chat history. I want to get the other one. I also want to read its output. Okay, so that's all it did. That's the entire one. Okay, so I got that recorded. Alright, so let's see what the glaze did. I'm treating this as a greenfield expansion of the Scribbler and its script. First, I'm going to inspect the current script and nearby project context so I can extend it without breaking its existing boot behavior. The repository is minimal. Okay, let's skip that. I'm replacing the trivial launcher with a self-contained Python bootstrap that invents a small virtual robot API, senses the current environment, It has no way to sense the current environment unless it has read the other scripts. There's not much to sense. There's no API to hook into the environment to sense. I mean, that it needs that. Oh, duh. Invents a small virtual API. Look at me. Senses the current environment, derives axioms for how the robot should exist there, and emits an adaptive behavior plan without assuming physical constraints. The new bootstrap is in place. I'm running the script once to verify the init path works end-to-end and that environment's adaptive output is coherent. Okay, so it ran the script. That's nice. It just prints stuff from what I can tell. The cool thing, I think, with like a personality, one of the things that I've discovered through meditation is that like your soul sort of exists when you just like turn off all like input-output, and you just sort of like distill yourself into like a sort of crystalline mental, physical, spiritual structure, and you start to tap into like very subtle, let's say extra normal or extra, I think a good word is extra fermionic sort of impulses. So you can like sense magnetic fields and stuff like that, just like very minutely. And you start to, when you are still, you sort of condense the like spirit and the mind, and you sort of develop an ego that way. I think the alchemists call this like, it's gold related, but it has to be purified in the alchemist sense. But it's vulgar gold, I guess is what they say. Depends on how much it is condensed and purified. So I'm telling it to like, we don't actually have any concrete things that like we want the script to do. Just like sort of do stuff without doing anything, like sort of distill the idea into just printing or, who knows, virtual. Oh, it has commands. Rooms. Change physics mode. That's weird. Inspect a deeper chamber. What? I don't know if I could commit this. This is like, I told it to drop like physical reality a little bit. Maybe that's what the relax means. But it went pretty schizo. Let the scribbler answer in characters. Okay, I like that. So that's like the Tmux thing that I'm doing. That's nice. Or not the Tmux, the Calce stuff. Leave the mind space. That's excellent. I guess quit is what people would expect. The atrium signal, so it's hallucinating rooms now. Soul architecture, we could create these for it. That would be hilarious. So like each entity in HackMatrix gets its own HackMatrix. And so it can like its own mind space that it just like, whatever it thinks about it just like invents and like continuously just interacts with and simulates and shit. And you like, people obviously can do that. That's what I'm doing. Right? That's what the entire thing I'm doing here is. So it has rooms that I could create these rooms. I mean, I don't know what a signal room would be, but there are rooms that I created called like, not a room, but an object that's just called engineering, I think. And the reason I made it is because I was reading just like a Wikipedia article on like some engineering skill, and I'm like, the philosophical concept of engineering deified does not exist in my system. So let's just make an object that represents it. In a way, that's what these rooms are. These represent things that the scribbler robot should not. Bro, what if it's saying say? What if it knows the scribbler robot scribbles, like writes stuff? Probably doesn't. This is just like hallucinated stuff. I'd let it get too virtual. But maybe it's internally coherent. Internally coherent, I think, may be what I want. Waits in the atrium with a persona, mood, purpose. I don't know. It seems kind of. It seems like a game almost. You know. It seems like it gave me a game, like just a little. Yeah, that's fine. I think an agent's mind can be sort of game-like. Look. Okay. Let's go to the atrium. We're already in the atrium. Purpose, so symbolic drift, just completely. What does that even mean, dude? Interface, parallel shell viewport. Okay. I mean, that's definitely what this is. Physics selective. That is what it is, guys. It is selective physics. That's my bad. Should have said selective metaphysics too. Oh gosh. Focus target. Interesting surface, whatever that means. Nearby doors. This is a simulacrum of a game / CLI. The CLI simulator. Orient? Can you give me the change interface? Yeah, so give me the interfaced postures. How do I relax? What are the dude, this is pure Okay, so it just prints the word afterwards. It's just like you type a word and it just prints it. Physics. This is the physics you're working with now. Oh my gosh. It just hard codes this little jingle here. I basically just said, spit out, Codex, please spit out the craziest Tamagotchi you possibly can. It doesn't even have to make metaphysical sense. It doesn't have to make logical sense. I basically told it it could do that. Give me the LSD simulator. Is there anything useful in it? I might have to wipe this thing. Okay, that's great. I love the creativity. I said we could relax the physics, but maybe not so much the metaphysics. Like, have it make a little more logical sense. Maybe try to think about real problems that the variables that you created can solve or interact with. Maybe you just need an extra layer on the good ideas you have and have the API and start simulating systems or having real interactable systems that sort of give the robot a sense of regularness, stability, etc. Normally, in low-level terms, this would just mean test cases, but for a robot, you typically, or an agent, you typically want to express behavior. I don't need these to be automated tests. I just want to see that there are coherent systems behind the interactions I have in the UI. So get to work on that and maybe think about what this robot will do at a basic level in HackMatrix. The robot has light sensors at the front of its, has 2 light sensors bilaterally, bisymmetrically distributed like eyes on the underside of the robot, distance of, let's say, 2 centimeters. These light sensors can be used to navigate the robot. There are 2 wheels for the robot. Differential turning is what creates turning. Differential rotation the robot has a hole in its, or a pen, which can be dragged across around through the bottom of the robot to draw. So maybe think of interesting things for the robot to do. Interesting. Let's get rid of that. So what I wanted to do, I'm not sure if I explained it well enough. It was all just too ungrounded, and I could say, okay, yeah, let's just get the like. Typically, when I do like robotics, I would solve like a particular challenge, like, hey, let's just get the robot wheels turning. Hey, let's get it driving. Hey, let's get the arm. Let's get a range of positions that the arm's not going to move into. Let's get familiar with its transformation spaces. Let's get the camera systems working, things like that. So there's like really sort of concrete examples of specific things that I wanted to do. And in this, I'm sort of playing with the idea of HackMatrix being a virtual space, and maybe having alternative physics. Like, it doesn't, like, you can't fly right now. Maybe the robot doesn't have to move its wheels. Maybe it just has, there's so many abstraction layers. You don't have to pin it down to this robot is supposed to represent a physical robot that has these, sort of limitations. And so I wanted to get that across to the AI, and then sort of use that to develop a sort of Tamagotchi personality. But for Tamagotchi, you actually need sort of systemic constraints that exist outside the Tamagotchi. So like maybe food level, or maybe resources, or maybe when I say exist outside the Tamagotchi, maybe I mean just that exist outside the UI of the Tamagotchi, which I think the GPT did was just code like a shell of a UI, and I probably would have done the same. Well, I don't code like that. I don't do a breadth first search. I typically take a problem and dive down into it and get like a actual concrete implementation all the way down. So that way I don't have just a bunch of random abstraction. But I wanted to see what it would do if it just printed the abstraction, if it was just doing symbolic computing and giving it a personality and not having that relate to anything that the robot is actually doing. Don't have it relate to any physical observable behavior except like text output or whatever. And it got a little too out of control, and basically just had no grounding whatsoever. So now I'm trying to guide it back to hey, this is an actual robot simulation. It's going to simulate something in sort of physical space. So give it a personality, let it have its mind space, but also know that it's just going to be a robot personality too. So I think it's getting a little too creative here. I like creative programming, but the AI is just, it goes crazy. Alright, I have no idea what it did, but I can just save that. And we'll see what it did. Guys, this is just me sort of playing around. At some point, I'm going to get bored of this and like actually work on getting the thing to move and like walking up to it and getting like a script thing to open up. But I do like having some sort of like personality to the bot. So if it, if I walk up to the bot and it just starts spewing out schizo shit, that's more interesting, like significantly more interesting than, just saying hello world. So this is like, it's whispering at me. I'm a scribbler. Like that's funny. I have no idea what it's going to say, and just the fact that it's whispering to me is actually hilarious. So that's kind of what I want for this phase, which is just giving the terminal something to say. So maybe I just have this continually running as it's walking around or something. A neon monk folded into terminal light. Yeah, that makes nothing. Body is a work self-familiar. Okay, so it's just like bad poetry maybe, or poetry I don't care about. This is cool. Movement grammar. Like, okay, yeah. Symbolic drift. Like, what does that mean though? Oh my gosh. Map local affordances before declaring identity. Keep the operator facing terminal aligned with intent. Oh my god, dude. What is this slop? I'm like in a clown world of the AI's mind. I'm becoming the clown. Treat directories as rooms is actually a decent idea. And motion ghosts into the display plane. Project diagrams and motion ghosts into the display plane. I'll have to ask what it means by that. Keep the visible console parallel to the direction of travel. Perfect. That's a good behavior. Instantiate tools as needed instead of carrying them permanently. Okay, I mean, if it's doing like a virtual, like if it's simulating, it's sort of more, think of it like more RPG type behaviors, and it's just telling you things about itself that you can then simulate in your own mind. Maybe some of this makes sense. Promote stable abstractions into repeatable limbs. It literally means nothing. Into repeatable limbs. I mean, I guess you could assign some abstraction to limbs to mean something that makes this make sense. But deep in the weeds if you are speaking like that. Expose a small movement grammar for bot and terminal. Okay, I mean, that's a sort of meta thing. Because this is the bot, or it should be, for myself, internal. Okay, that's a good one too. I like that. It's just making, like, what, a reef? Memory garden, interface reef, motive furnace, syntax spine. That should be a band. Soul space, wheel of intent. Light lock? Like what? I have no idea what any of that means. It just gave me more commands. Okay, guys. I really hate to say it, but that was definitely a failed experiment. How unmaintainable is it? No, I'll keep the glaze. Move glaze to glaze, blooper. I guess I could have kept the code too. Oh, but it wrote the code. Doesn't have a copy of it. I mean, it might, but whatever. It was bad code. It was kind of funny. I could probably do something more coherent, but I would probably need. So the reason I think why that failed is because I kind of had a abstract idea of what I wanted the thing to do. I wanted it to basically be a Tamagotchi with give me codes, some systems about a robot that would incentivize me to interact with this thing. Just make it something interesting, and it made just garbage, just nonsense. So if I were to create the interesting thing the robot does, hey, navigate this maze, then I could ask the GPT to maybe make a personality around a fast maze runner or something like that. Regardless, that was just cleared from my mind as gone now. Who cares? Okay, so now that I have had my fun with this, so we want to think about in the engine what things mean, where the hooks are into the thing I want to make. And the scribbler is an agent, an instance of an agent. So I think probably making the idea of an agent component in HackMatrix that then keeps an association of a screen or terminal or an app with the agent itself, and have the agent be able to deploy these things. That sort of makes sense in the engine. However, the fundamental lowest level abstractions required to do that, I don't think need a level of I don't think it needs a full agent, a class or understanding of an agent inside the engine. An agent can consist of, at the moment, some code, a model, a position, maybe some child positions for all the components, a bootable and the bootable's position, so that's also sort of a child entity. So those are the basic engine level components, the atoms that would be required to create an agent in the way that I am thinking about it. And so if that's the case, theoretically there could be an external program that is maybe just written as a script that can communicate through the API all of the various things, or that can construct an agent, that can create all of the various components and their entities and their relationships, the parentables and bootables and all of that. So it can create all of that, and then it can present just an API that allows you to treat it as an agent. And so in that regard, you wouldn't even need the agent to be in HackMatrix, the C++ engine. It could literally just be written in Python or any language. All the agents could be written in separate languages maybe. just out of the basic core components. So what does that look like? So let's do a class scribbler. We could have multiple scribblers, so I think it makes sense to have a scribbler class. Okay, so let's just say it wants to be created. What does that look like on a fundamental atomic level for the bot? So we need to add so the agent has a sort of hierarchy of models that can constitute its body. So model tree, it has that. And this is the okay, so the parentable component, actually I should write this as the parentable component ensures that the child models will move in coherence with the parent. So all of the system that moves a high level object in the hierarchy will then propagate the movement to the lower levels, and so you can keep track of the top level thing that moves. That's what the parentable component does. It just basically it creates a tree structure in a database, and it sort of defines the tree structure. The parentable component defines at a high level an object of many models that must move together, basically. And so when it's a tree, we'll have to look into how the system actually works, the parentable system works. It's probably due for a rename, because now we're thinking about more general trees. So you can have, let's see, I guess you can't have conflicting higher level positions. You basically only want to add one position unless you're floating between two things. So in that regard, the parentable system would work here. So actually what this would be is top level entity. So what this would do is we want an API, and let's just define the virtual API. We don't have it yet. But it will have create entity. So we do have a ZMQ API. I don't know it very well, so I'm just going to work with a virtual one and then sort of commensurate this version with the one that I do, that already exists. So this will return entity ID. Entities are generally synonymous with their ID. It is just the ID in some sense for the entity component system I'm describing. That's how lightweight the abstraction is, I suppose. So it creates the entity, and then it adds models. So this will be robot0.obj, robot1.obj. So I guess this will be OBJs, and robot2.obj, like that. And then I forgot Python push back or push, or it's probably this, or append. For some reason I think it's append. It might not be though. Oh my gosh. There is no create entity. Oh, there is a create entity. Okay. It's just a pass. Will an API need instantiation? I think it will actually. So if I use the ZMQ API, it's definitely going to need instantiation. Opens up a client, keeps information about it. So then this will be, it needs an API as well. Okay, the API doesn't do anything yet. Okay, so this is just the top level entity. We don't even need this anymore. Reduced all of that to top level. It's a container. Okay, so this create models. Self.model is able to create models. Okay, so it has its models, and then it will. So it has to create the parentable to know what parents to what. And so for this specific robot, which has OBJ, which has these 3 OBJ files, the 0 with 1. Oh my god! Oh, I thought my thing had a nail on it. I thought my mouse pad had a nail in it because it's made out of cedar wood. And I thought maybe it was like scrap that had a nail in it before I made the mouse pad. Anyways, okay, so what I was saying is the scribbler has a set of data that defines, I mean, technically this is sort of semi-constant, the number of model components it has and the paths that they have. It might make more sense not to do this dynamically and to just like lay them out into a like a list, a flat list. So then you can reference them. I mean, you can reference them dynamically here, but it's not really. So this is equal to a list. I totally forgot that you have to. Well, this one obviously you have to use that. And it's also going to complain about this one. Oh jeez, Rick. Oh. I have no idea what it's saying. Oh, self was given. Classic Python mistake. Okay, so there's okay, so we have a create entity. We should create the model here. And so the create models. Okay, so this is the name or the OBJ file. So I just wanted to accumulate a list to test that it works. We have an OBJ file, and what are we going to do with it? We will call create model. Create models is going to take it has a self top level entity, but each of the individual model will need an entity. Each individual model needs an entity to do the parentable. So to do that, self.api.create. We can do the new model. I'm kind of wanting to do the camel case here. New model object. New part entity. So it's let's call it a part. Okay, so this is, if I'm separating the create models from the create parentables, both of which are on the same level being components, it gives it creates an order dependency because the models, at least as I'm coding it, is creating the entity where the entity is actually going to own both the models and the parentables, which are both components. So I should actually probably create a parts component. Right now we can just call it parts, and parts will be exactly what I described here. Except, let's name the parts, let's just not give it obj. Right, and so now we can say that the parts dot append obj. So this is the part name. Okay, so we take the part name, put it into parts. Okay, and so now we can create the entity, create entity, part entities, parts, create model, create part entities, create part models, parts, create part positionables, parts. So those are going to be the three parts needed to create the robot. Part entities, part models, and then we have a top level entity which will control the, it'll be what the bootable, which is the screen here, what that will also be have as a parentable. Create part models, create part positionables, create part entities. Okay. Okay, so this is simple. We for part and parts. Parts of parts. Actually, I think part will just be the string. Plus dot obj. So that is now file name. So now we create a model. Let's just call it the obj name. And this will be in, so where is this robot currently? The file, it's currently in Vox, and this model has to be relative to the HackMatrix root, and so there is a folder to keep a limited subset of object files for the open source version of this, or for the window manager version, the sort of minimal version. So I'll just append the Vox part to that. So I'll say Vox robot 012. I think there's a hyphen, perhaps. And then it will give me that will give me the full part name object file name. And I can just call self.api dot and this self, okay. API is created with self.api dot create model of the object path. Okay, there we are. So we create the part object path thing, and then this returns a nothing. This create part models. Okay, perfect. So the parts. So we create part entities, and the way that we call this seems to indicate that it is modifying parts, because the entities need to be stored somewhere, and we're not. It just assumes that it's modifying the scribbler itself, and that the scribbler will have a list of parts. I think the parts can be a dictionary. So instead of appending part name, we append. I think I can do this. Just append part name. I'm not sure if I need to do that, but yeah, append part name. But now we don't need that. It's just name. Append name. Okay, so we have parts append name. So now create entities. This calls self.api.create entity. And then this is, we iterate for part and part. So iterate for all the parts. Okay, so now part is a dictionary. I think that's how I can do that. Okay, so part of entity is equal to the create entity. Okay. For model, we add vox obj part.model is equal to that. The reason why we need that is we actually need the part entity. So we need the entity and the object path. Technically, whoa, that was weird. I don't think we need to. Okay, so we create the model from the entity, the object path. And that's enough for that. So right now I'm just basically writing what I would do in the entity TUI to create all of these. So I don't have to do that to spawn new Scribbler robots. The Scribbler needs an init, so might as well give it a proper init. Okay, so for the positionables. So this will require a table of where everything is relative to each other, which is not super difficult. Oh man, I'm tired. I think I need some coffee. Oh, my alarm just actually went off. Which means to me, it didn't go off immediately in the past, but maybe 5 minutes ago. Which means that it is goal time. Oops. Goal meditation. So the idea here is to write down a goal and meditate on it for 5 minutes. And so for me, real quick, I guess I'll get silent and write my goal, and you can write your goal, and we can meditate for 5 minutes. And then I can, not sure what I'll do, maybe go eat some food or something, but I'll stay on stream and just get a quick snack, I suppose. So go to self, clear, then goals, April. Magic of goal revision. All the homies are here. I'll check out chat after I do this, and I can check out chat and talk with you guys after while I'm eating. So I'm actually going to sit down on a proper meditation pillow here. Excuse me. Okay, so C6, C7 MIT boy says reading stats of 6 people like it's not web date updates, thinking it means something. No idea. Ivan J6Y says, is it just me or does he kind of sound like Orange E? Okay. Absolutely going to mute C6C. Epic Dude 67 says, just wondering what keyboard do you use? The Razer Huntsman Mini. What was that ding? I suppose it depends on what ding you mean. When that was sent, I don't know when it was sent. But there was a very loud ding from my meditation bell. But it could have been a variety of things, I suppose. Am I okay? Yep. A bong and a gong. Bell in a bowl. Whoops. Okay, so I said I was going to get food and talk on chat. I didn't get food while talking on chat. Food's not super important. I already ate, but the caffeine probably is. Okay, so interesting. So I need the positionables and the parentables. So I could do this all through the TUI, but we are going ahead and creating an agent, which is a virtual representation of some, I use the word cyborg, but I guess robot is a decent word. What is it? A mind, body, soul complex. Might be a suitable name. Although this one is mostly lacking a body. What I could do is evolve this one into a robot that I have sitting directly beside me. And it's actually ironic because it sort of looks recursive fractal at the moment. I have to take a picture to show what I'm talking about. But it's a pretty good HackMatrix screenshot if you like HackMatrix screenshots. Oh no, my mouse moved. It's actually pretty funny. Let's see if I can get a decent picture. I suppose that's decent. You guys can't see it at the moment. Just because of the nature of me taking it on my phone. So the Scribbler robot to me has no use. It's a toy or an educational tool. And so if we're going ahead and evolving sort of virtual robots that don't need a physical implementation, we might as well use maybe a slightly more complex robot, or evolve the virtual robot to handling more complex, virtual bodies. So there's a robot that I just took a picture of, and I'm going to send that. So it's actually not a completed design. It's missing a wheel, hilariously. It's missing a clamp that holds. It's a combination of two robots that I'm still working on. So the Scribbler robot, I'm not going to do this on this stream, simply due to the amount of time it would take. But there is a screenshot of the robot that I am probably going to evolve that Scribbler into, maybe in a subsequent stream, probably after the distro launch. See if that actually sent. Oh, it opened because I opened it on my phone. Okay. Okay, so that's the robot there. It's funny because there's a screen, a robot, a screen, and a robot. So it's like a sort of fractal. A terminal, a robot, a terminal, a robot. So this one obviously has, you actually can't tell that it doesn't have more, or that it could have a like 2-wheel base or maybe a 3-wheel base. If you saw a robot this big and it only had 2 wheels and a drag knob, you would be like, that is nuts. This actually has 4 wheels. One of the wheels here is broken off. It has an elephant robotic arm that is, it's an okay arm. It's maybe a hobbyist level arm, not industrial level. And then it has a clamp between the base, which is, I would say, more of an educational robot, and attached to the maybe hobbyist entrance, like R&D maybe for industrial, which is what I'm using it for. And also for art. So over time I might change this model, change the API. This one can support a lot more abstractions. Go and paint the wall. Go and sweep the floor. Those types of things. Sweep the floor. Go and garden outside. It's actually, the first robot I built was to water plants. And the water reservoir I spilt right before the demo on the bot, which had exposed electronics. And the bot went up in smoke. That was a bad day. What's interesting is that this bot, the Scribbler bot, has blue and white. The original Scribbler was actually blue and black. This one actually has blue and white, except I made this model before I even purchased these robots. So maybe it's a hyperstition, but it's two things that had. So I modeled the Scribbler based off one of the wrong colors, and I modeled I bought these 2 bots that had the same colors. Although the bot does have, this one has black wheels. So, anyways, that is what we are working on, just the movable base, which I already have, as I said, design that's 3D printable with motors and such that already exists, so I could make this work. All the simulations here work for that part. Okay, so we have these positionables. So one thing that I didn't add for the other ones were the top level entity getting a component. The top level entity already has an entity, so it doesn't need that. Top level entity does need a positionable though, which is why I just thought of that. So be self.top level entity. So that's the entity, and then the positionable would take a vector, and we'll just put it at 0, 5, 0, something like that. Or let's actually make it like negative, let's do negative 20. That's somewhere farther back where we are. And then I don't know how the parentable works, but it may be that the positions need to be set up not with relative positions, but with absolute positions, and then when you create the parentable, it locks them all in. Or it may be that you add relative positions. I can't remember how that system works. But this is self.api.create positionable. So you give it the entity it needs and the positionable data. There is a rotation component, but we are going to ignore that, and so this API function that we're abstracting away is going to handle that. An interesting programming paradigm would be to basically wrap all the library functions that you use in your own sort of makeshift interface to that library. It's a little redundant sometimes, but it does allow you to sort of test and compensate for sort of lack of, or sort of expectations that have gone awry about the library, add error codes and such. Use the library in your tests and in your code without actually having the library in existence or having selected it. I don't know. I usually don't do this. I have a concrete API. I'm just not. It's not. For some reason, it changed a bit from in the Wayland port, and so that needs to be fixed. And so I'm just going to code to a virtual API, which may or may not, probably does have extra methods that I will actually need to implement in the real API. So it's better to use virtual anyways, I guess. So this is the create positionable. That takes entity. And also takes a self, an entity, and a position. Pass, and it handles position, not rotation or scale. It should probably handle scale. These might be scale of 1, but I doubt it. These robots will probably come in the size of a person. So, create parentable self-entity parent. Let's say. So I have to change how that works too, but I like that as the name there, or the signature. So I think that, I don't think there's any additional information besides just a parent link, but there may be like relative information. Let's see, so create entities, positionables. We haven't done the parentable one yet for these methods. Technically I could do all of these in the same loop, but so the part, I don't think we actually need to store the parentable, but we do need the entity, I think. So this is the self.api.create parentable, and then this will be the, so I think it's the self first, which is the self ID, the entity, which is part entity, and then the self.top. Is that what I want? Oh, that's interesting. So the way I'm doing it is I'm actually, I think I'm locking the easiest way would be to have a top level container entity, and then that also gets a positionable, which I think is what I did. I created a positionable for the top level entity, which is the container, and then I can parent everything to the container, and then not have any information about where parts are relative to each other, and have it only relative to the container. I think that's probably an okay strategy. Let's see. Self.top. What was this supposed to be? Here. Oh, top level. Top level entity. And that is just an entity ID, I believe. Wow, that's crazy. I just got a mental aroma memory of Blockbuster, what it smelled like. Maybe my mind is telling me to go watch a movie and eat some popcorn or something. There's one more that create models, I believe. API create model. Def. I'll just return 0 here. I think I want to return actual values instead of pass for my next test of this. So to create the model, I want pass. The model doesn't need to return an ID, but it does need a change in signature. It needs the entity. I think all of these will need the entity, and then the OBJ path, I believe. And then this just returns a bogus ID. This it doesn't need to return anything to satisfy the use cases, so pass as well. And then the parentable, it does not either. But what all of these do need to do is, actually, yeah, okay, the entity exists. So these do need to print create model for, I think I can do an, I'll just do like concat stuff. Just because I know that will work. Okay, same for the positionable. Okay. And so those will be the actual API calls. I'm actually printing the entity, so if I create an entity, I need to give it a proper ID. I can just use a random value. I can do that. Not that rand mod. I'll just do 5, that's probably enough. Let's do an order of magnitude larger. I don't really want overflow and then get confused. I have to import math. It's been so long since I've used Python in a professional way. Math.rand. Create top level entity. Create entity. Math.rand. Okay, it was not having it. Python import math dot That's probably going to immediately rand int. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, what's going on? What was I doing? I think that's what it said. Oops. PSYOP in there. Gave me 2 10s right out the bat. Let's up the ante. Thank you, Karma. That was a great coincidence there. Create part entities. Create part entities. Oh. Python, man. Whoa. I think it's part.name that part.name. Key error name. Why is there a key error name? There is a... Oh my gosh. Is that actually what it does? If I do name, does it evaluate that? It does, I think. Create part... Oh. Excuse me. Parts. Oh. That's funny. So create the entities, the models, the positionables, and the parentables. I think that works. I believe that likely works. So maybe it works. And again, it depends on how the position system works, how the cascading positions work. So let's go back up here, and I think I want to create a model for blank, and then model for obj path. Obj path. The position doesn't matter. This does though, I think. For entity, could probably use a comma as well. And I don't really even need to specify which is which. Okay, so it loads the object files, then it creates a single positionable for the... I'm not sure if that works. I think I might have to create... what is that? How many are there for that? There should be... It should create 3 of them. 3 more of them. It should create 4 of them, I think. And then it creates a link to them all. Okay, yeah, so that seems Good, except I detected one bug. So something, you could write a test that runs this and tests all that, or I could write a test that runs this and test all that stuff automatically. That the logic works, that it's branching in all the right ways and running the right thing for the right number of things. For the models, you only need 3. For the parentables, you only need 3, but you need them to have both IDs for the top level, and then for the positionable, you need actually 4. Unless I refactor this, and I might just need probably 4 as well, but the difference would be 1, they need to all exist at the time, at the creation, before the links are created, and they have to be specified in absolute terms, or, which probably more accurate, is that you don't have a positionable per se, or you do, but you make positionables have a concept of relativity, so that you have an origin of axis, or an axis of origin, which is for a parentable thing is set at it's basically zeroed out at the parent's origin, essentially. And so to me that version seems better. I don't have to manually add distances from the parent. But overall, I think that works as expected. But I do have to either change the API to work in this way with the one parent positionable, or create multiple positionables. So I actually think I want to go and create the multiple positionables, but I will treat them as relative, and then we can go into the engine and fix if they don't treat them as relative, which I don't think they do. So here's a pass. So same thing, just create positionables. And so for the non-relative version, we could put the wheels there and then say like, oh yeah, there's like a 0.5 change and there's a negative 0.5 change, and that's the 2 wheels offset from the. I think that's not the way to go, and that's not the way that I think OpenSCAD goes, which is I think feels like what I'm building, OpenSCAD. Which basically uses nested translates to do exactly what I'm doing here. Translate blocks, basically. And so if this were in a nested translate, I would do this, and then do like 0.5. I mean, it's minuscule. So you do that. What's weird is that there is no top level entity. So the 0th one has to have. So if it's like if I enumerate, you can do that. And you can say if I is equal to 0, then we add the 0th one. So this is just the base one. This is the robot 0 is the base, the blue base down here. And then otherwise we do something else that's still branching, but there is a times, we'll make it not super fancy. Sine is equal to, we can just use an if statement. Nested if statements are sort of gross. There are ways to do this that are different. What am I even doing right here? I'm getting a sine just for the modulo works. Times sine I knew I was being stupid or just being brain damaged. So the sine is not what I need, just times -1. I think that's what I need. Although that is modulo 2 plus 2 minus 1. Now, is that how you do it? Yeah, modulo 2 plus 2 minus... What am I thinking right now? Oh, yeah. So it's... Bro, my brain is so broken right now. I'm like trying to think about how to just translate this across the axis based off of either a 1 or a 2 index. So that's just index modulo 2, which gets a 0 or a 1. And then I multiply that by 2 to get it into 2, and then I subtract 1. Bleh. Alright, is that right? So 0, then multiplied by 2 is 2, and subtract 1, that goes to 1 or -1. So that's the multiplier times wheel base, so the abstraction stays there in my head and I know what that 1 is. That's just the sign. Actually, I should just write that's the sign. There we are. So that's not even likely the dimensions here, but it's sort of close to what we want. And then up here, I now want to add the positions. Bro. This is when you don't want to use the simple thing that I'm doing here. Fine, I'll just store them all. I think all this code is throwaway anyways. That's what they all say though. I'll show what my dog is doing, but he's somewhere in the house I'm concerned peeing or something. Getting into trouble with law. Such terrible posts. Okay, so the positionable has a relative positionable. So I could do that here. I don't think I want to. It's so weird to have a component that has a positionable. But the engine would almost need to have a flag that says it's relative or not. And depending on just having a component that changes meaning based off of another component is not something that I think I want. And that's exactly what would happen with the positionable component if I did this, because it would mean relative, or it would mean an actual position in the world. But this is a bot loader. I guess the idea of components that are relative to each other, I don't know. This seems something that's very required in an engine, which is why I already have the position or the parentable clamp type thing. It's just how does one specify the positions when you do that clamp? And it's almost like you would need another component, basically, or the parentable component, since it's only related to the position, should have parent local or relative coordinates, and frankly the sub positions shouldn't even have a positionable. But that's not how the system works. It's going to iterate through all the models and then render based off of their absolute position, which gets computed in the system level on every tick based off of the parentable system. So in that regard, I would want to send the absolute positions. And so I think what happens is you would say, like, okay, so how does that work? And it's like, I think there's like maybe an origin system, maybe, in the positionable. We can look at that actually. We can see what how the code works. Where is this? This is in systems, I believe. Okay, so we're going to operate through the apply translations and rotations. So this is the only thing that uses this system level updating of parents of models based off of the hierarchy. Okay, so you see, it tries to, if it has a parent, then it. Okay, so the parent does a parent in the hierarchy. It is a double bidirectional tree, I guess. So the pointer to the children and the pointer to the parents. It's usually necessary for various tree algorithms, anyway. Uh-oh. My homemade platform is breaking. Made out of cedar wood, sitting below my bench. Okay, so it just adds the delta of the movement to the positionable. Where the delta of the movement is, so basically all it does is it iterates through all the things with, it computes a delta, how much is this thing moving in this frame, and then it just moves all of the models by that amount. So it just keeps all of the positionables independent and just adds to them all. Okay, so that still doesn't help me understand how the positions get clamped. Oh, now I know. So I think the way I did it is when I designed like the robot here, I just manually moved the things into position, and then I added a positionable. And so now anytime any of these move through one of the systems that respects the component, then it will move all of the associated models. But if I just move it in the database, it's just going to move. So if I were to use the system without modifying it, then in the Scribbler agent, the agent would define like a URDF, which would then create the absolute positionables based off of the template, essentially. And it would be the script's responsibility. I suppose I'm okay with that. I'm not sure that's going to fly in the long term. I think it's probably inefficient to keep all of that data maybe around. Actually, it may even be more inefficient CPU-wise to traverse the tree and do all the relative calculations. Either way, it's probably not a super important factor. But maybe it is, I don't know. We're going into the agents now. Okay, so there's one more important thing. This creates the model. But what do we do if there's something that already is a model like this? And so the Scribbler here is almost like that. It doesn't have a top-level container component, but it does have all of the links required to take it and move it. Move it as a unit across the screen. But anyways, the one thing that it requires is a move function now. So for now, we'll just we'll define it in terms of its wheels, basically. So I can say move, and it just has move, and it has left motor, right motor. So these are, I believe, at the moment, the ones on the current robot, both on the Scribbler and my current robot, are not steppers. They are DC motors. So it would just be -1 to 1, basically. Like motor voltage, -1 to 1. Okay. So we will pass there. I'm not sure if Python has function overloading, but they might. So the more advanced spot that I have has 4 wheels, and they move exactly the same way, except it's front, back, left, right. And the API itself, it has I believe, create translation or so we have self and then the entity. And so we'll just pass that as well. Okay, so this is somewhat part of the simulation to say how much do these motors turning, like if the left motor stays still, the right motor does not, and the right motor moves forward. That does a little bit of translation because you're not turning about the origin of the robot, and so it's going to move that origin. So how much does it translate and how much does it rotate based off of the two motors is something that is unique to each robot morphology. And so that is required in the, defining that is required in the, the bot's configuration or whatever. Specifically for this simple scribbler thing, that's something that we have to, I guess, figure out. So rotate entity, this will only be in the Z direction. So Z for, let's see, floor normal is equal to 0, 0, 1. Believe, or we can just use an index, just 2. Okay. Normal axis index. So now we're going to rotate by some amount. Left motor greater than right motor. Times -1. I think that's how you do that. If you can times a bool by a number. I don't really care about that right now though. I just need to know that rotation. We have to compute this dynamically. And it's based solely off the differential between the two motors. Rotate the entity. Okay, so what you do is just set a rotation of 0. Okay. Rotate entity by the rotation. Okay, so it's going to move the XYZ are going to change in some strange way that is based off of trigonometry. Not sure what to do here. In order to know the absolute translation, you need to know the direction that it is rotated to have a forward direction. So we can actually keep that position. So the scribbler itself is going to know its forward heading. Let's just call it heading. Oops. Its heading at the start is 0. I'm not sure if that's the case, but we'll call it 0. And then, so the new rotation. The thing about rotation is it does the rotation over time. In the engine, it does ticks. So to do that, it's going to be very interesting because either the physics engine would have to do the interpolation, or I'll have to do it here. The interpolation is going to create an arc. If you have a left motor slightly bigger than the right motor, and you have to interpolate across that arc. And the rotation translation system is not capable of moving in an arc. You would have to create many different translations to get it to move into an arc. So I'm thinking about how to solve that problem and where in the code I want to solve that. Could create another system that I don't know. But I guess I will think of it as a code. As I talk to people in the chat. So for the rotation, I just have to set the rotate entity. So rotating the entity, and then self.heading. Self.heading is equal to motor turn, I'll call it heading change, actually. Heading, delta heading. So this is just plus equal delta heading. I think I can do that. Maybe I can't. I always forget what syntax sugar is available in various languages. I probably can use plus equals though. So I have a heading that gets changed, and then the delta heading. Okay, so then it's going to, the rotation is going to say how much do you rotate and how much time does it take to do that. So there needs to be time, speed, rotation time, so let's just say movement time, 1 second. And so we'll have to do some type of physics calculation where we determine how big is the wheel, how fast is the wheel going to turn, all of those variables. I guess it depends on how low level I want to simulate it. There's simulation, and then there's just like actuation of the motors, both of which I want to implement. Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. I want some cereal. Self API rotate entity. Oh, we're doing the translation. This is a difficult problem, moving over time. I don't think move is a good name, actually. I think it should be like change motors. Because that fundamentally change motors is the API that you would use to communicate with your robot to actually make it move. And then this is doing the simulation of what that would be. So you need to do some trigonometry to get a multiplier for the x and the y, and then multiply that by your speed and movement time to get a distance, a vector, that then you use to translate the entity based off of the rotation axis. So the anti-rotation axis, basically. The normal or whatever. So I need to implement that. But before I do that, let's go talk to chat. Let's see what's going on with chat. Hello, chat. Obnoxious keyboard echo. Oh, that's the guy I'm ignoring, I think. What keyboard do I use? Oh, I already said that. Huntsman Mini. Let's see. Adian Chilling says woo. Not sure if that's about my spirituality or about moving in the HackMatrix world, moving fast, whatever. There's a fight going on outside my house, I think. I think they call it a youth fight. You guys can hear it. Bro, do you guys hear that? That's crazy. This person says, I'm going to tune out, see you man. Alright, adios. Green Eggs 8448 says, what are you doing? I am working on a robot simulator in my 3D Linux. And at the moment, I am actually going to get food. So I can actually copy the meditation script. CP goal meditation to break.py. Technically, I think I already have something for the stream here, but calcite tux. Taking a 5-minute break. Okay, Python break.py. Okay, I'm going to go get some food, but we are working on some robotic simulator, robotic entity agent thing in HackMatrix. So we will continue on that in a moment. Okay, actually, so yesterday, what are you doing? This is what Green Egg says. Okay. So actually, what I was saying yesterday, oh, there's no one watching. Nice. So I'm ending the video right now. Yesterday, I did complete multiplayer. in a single stream, and that was pretty cool. I'm not going to get this done in a single stream. So 3 hours is enough. I'm not going to finish it. I'm not going to go to like 6 or 10 or whatever. I'm just going to cut it off here, and I'll name this part 1, and then we can add as many parts as we need. So this is 1 out of part 1. Yep, I'll save that. Ending the stream. I'll be back. Adios. See you soon. Bye.